there's an area in our body that corresponds to every challenge that we have. Every time we bump up against something and we feel overwhelmed by it, or we feel consumed by our circumstances, or it could even be a diagnosis, when we receive information or think thoughts on our own, if those are thoughts or experiences of intimidation where we feel buckled over, or we want to withdraw, or we feel charged or triggered in some way, it is because of a lack of circuitry in place energetically that isn't allowing this entire toric field system that I briefly mentioned earlier to do its thing. It's not allowed to flow in the way that it's intended to. Think of it like a pothole in the highway. You got to drive around it. And so we drive around these gaps in the highway as this highway is trying to rise up through our system. We divert around them, but the diversion, the constant diversion, creates a wobble in the rising energy of the way this system is designed to be functioning. For instance, the energy is supposed to rise from tailbone up through your central channel, through the sushumna, through the spinal column. You can think of it that way, and exhale out the crown, and then it runs around the outside of the body and re-enters in the body at the level of the tailbone and comes up again, and just is recycling constantly. It's constantly pouring in from overhead and going all the way through what would become a body. It hits the earth and is stepped down for human consumption. And it rises up through this toric field, recycling and recycling and recycling. This system is the master system of our body. It develops all the other systems that differentiate into an immune system and a digestive system and a respiratory and a cardiovascular. All of these systems are an offshoot of this basic foundational energetic system flow called this toric field. And so that uprising energy has to come up on a smooth highway if we're ever going to transcend the primitive brain and get up into the high brain centers where we can relate to a life that works, a life that is beautiful and good and sharing and communicative and free and embracing and an expression of ourselves as a divine presence on the planet. Okay, so that system's supposed to be working. However, if we have areas that we've shut down in the course of our lives where we tried to love and it didn't work out, boom, we shut down in this heart area, or we tried to trust our gut and it flopped or didn't work for whatever reason, boom, we shut down in this feeling area of the body. Infinitesimal variety of ways that these interruptions can occur. The bottom line is, if this rising energy is diverting through all these areas where the circuits are shut down, it creates a wobble. And that wobble of the rising energy creates a distortion in the field. Now I'm sitting here in a distorted field, looking out into a world that I see in a distorted fashion. And I see that it's all out to get me. Nobody cares. It's all, it's all up to me. I got to carry the weight of the world on my back, whatever it might be. The ways that we self-talk will reveal to us the distortions that exist in our field. So in the feeling code, what we're doing is saying, instead of jumping up into your head when something has a hold of you and saying, why do you do that? Or what's wrong with me? Why do I do this all the time? Instead of asking why, just ask, where in the body do I sense a charge? Do I feel a tightness in my gut or my throat or my chest? Or if I don't feel anything, if I just ask the question, where in my body is this coming from? And my mind, because mind, body, and breath are actually one thing, they're just differentiated into different vibrational frequencies of the one system, it's automatically going to respond as soon as you ask. Your mind all of a sudden will be in your throat, or your mind all of a sudden will be paying attention to your solar plexus or in your heart or in your gut in some way. These different energy centers are representing different levels of consciousness. So if we just ask, okay, where in my body could I build the circuits to better be able to handle this situation, right? So it's immediately going to answer. It's like, oh, I thought you'd never ask. It's right here. It's that lump in your throat that you've been trying to get away with. It's that knot in your stomach you've been trying to get rid of forever, or whatever. So what I then have people do is hug the area that their mind just went to, or if they feel some charge in the body, and then I teach them how to anchor themselves in the body so that they can do this with stability and consistency and reproducibility. And while they're hugging that particular area on the inside, just kind of gently squeezing the muscles around the area, and start breathing up and down this central channel, what begins to happen is their consciousness, instead of moving around this area, starts to feel comfortable moving through the area. And we're actually learning to draw the breath right through the areas that we've been sidestepping, that have been contributing to our long-standing issues, our long-standing things that we avoid, our long-standing triggers or charges that exist in our lives. We start filling in the gaps so that we are more comfortable with more of life as we are intended to be, because we're taking the distortion out of the field by taking the wobble out of this drive shaft of the whole thing that is this central channel, this river of life that was, referenced in India as the Sushumna and as the god Hapi in Egypt. That was even before, predating these kinds of studies of the development of consciousness that were happening in ancient India. They were dawning in ancient Egypt. And so right in that era, those eras, I should say, we were gifted with the ability to adapt immediately based upon our external environment to build a more highly functioning system in here that allows us to proceed here in this dimension as the full capacity of a higher realm being that we are, a quantum being, a divine being, however one likes to think about it. It's all one thing that is being spoken about in different ways.